Play to potential. Nugget.
Stephen, I must mention The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was arguably the very first book I read in sort of the genre of self-improvement, self-development,
Right.
self-help, call it whatever. So in a way, it's a true privilege to be speaking to you. I also recognize it was your father who wrote that book, and in a way, he was larger than life in the way he established himself in the profession. Over time, you found your own voice and identity. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you've quote unquote joined the family business while sort of finding your own voice under these circumstances?
Yes, absolutely. Well, here's the interesting thing, Deepak, is that when I decided to join the company, this was before the 7 Habits book had been published.
Interesting.
But I knew it was going to be published, and I knew that people would resonate with it because my father had been speaking about it, talking about it for years. But until the book was out, it was hard to scale. And so I had different opportunities to join. I'd done investment banking. I had an opportunity there on Wall Street. I had an opportunity in real estate development where I'd worked before, some exciting opportunities. And I chose to join with just a small company that my father kind of had founded because I felt like this had a chance to truly change the world, to impact people everywhere. And it didn't look like it at the time to an outside observer, but I felt like it could. And I think I was right because the impact my father's work has been enormous, and it's impacted people everywhere. And so, I felt compelled to that because, I believed in it, and I believed in what my father was doing, and I thought it would have a great impact and that I could help be a part of that. But it was kind of difficult, especially at first, to kind of carve out my own identity, carrying my father's name. And he was the thought leader and the speaker and the teacher and author. And so initially, I came out of Harvard Business School. And so I felt like what I could contribute initially was a focus on the business side, to turn my father's ideas into a business. And so that's where I spent my energy, was focusing on that. I became, after learning the business for a while, I became the president and CEO and ran the company. And my identity became one kind of like, well, my dad's the thought leader, and I'm the business guy, and, building the business and growing it and forming partnerships around the world and the like. And I kind of felt like that was kind of my strength and my role. And, so my dad talks about it, and I helped turn it into a business and help us scale the business. And we did. We figured out a business model that worked, because prior to this point, we always had a great idea, a great customer value proposition, but we hadn't figured out how to make money and we hadn't figured out how to be scalable. And so we needed to learn that. And that's what I felt like I helped bring to the firm. And then we were able to.
And this is Franklin Covey, just to understand.
Yeah, this was actually before the merger. So this was what was called Covey Leadership Center.
Okay. Covey
Leadership Center, which later merged with Franklin Quest to form Franklin Covey. Yes. So the early days of Covey Leadership Center, and my role was the business guy. But then, interestingly, it was in the merger when we merged the Covey organization with the Franklin organization. Franklin was really big into time management, and we had our own foray into time management with my father's First Things First work. Suddenly, these two arch competitors in the marketplace, Covey Leadership Center, Franklin Quest, now we are combined, we're merged. And initially, it didn't work at first, not because it was bad strategy or a bad deal. No, it made complete sense.
And what's the timeline on this? When did this merger happen?
This was clear back in 1997.
Wow.
1997. So Covey was established in 83. It had been going for 14 years. I joined in 89 when we were just, a few people before the book came out. Mm-hmm. And then I became the CEO and ran it for 3 years as CEO. Then we did the merger and in 97. And at first we struggled. And it's because we were coming at it from different angles, different approaches, different mindsets, and we'd been competitive in the marketplace for years. And so there was some distrust there. And I saw firsthand, Deepak, the high cost of low trust. I saw how everything slowed down, everything cost more. And we recognized that we were not going to achieve the potential of this merger if we didn't build trust with each other. So then we made a conscious, deliberate attempt to say we've got to build trust internally with each other in this merger to achieve what we're trying to achieve. And we worked at it. We focused on it. And we became intentional about it. And we began to move the needle on trust. And long story short is we went from low trust to high trust. And that changed everything. Then I saw firsthand the great returns to high trust, how we can move faster, less cost, more creativity, more innovation, more commitment, more inspiration, more passion. And I came out of that whole experience saying, wow, trust matters enormously. And we all know that, but I came to the conclusion that we are underestimating the impact of trust by a factor of 100. That it's far greater than any of us imagine. Trust matters. You can move it. You can actually build it, grow it intentionally. It's not just you either have it or you don't. No, you can move the needle. You can build trust on purpose. And it's the most significant thing you can do. And I recognize that most of the stuff on trust, most of the books and the like, they either were too academic or too simplistic, kind of like just trust everyone and it'll all work out, And I said, no, this is such a practical, tangible idea, trust and really currency. We've got to get good at this. And so I found my voice of what I wanted to do now as a thought leader. And I think I went down the business path for two reasons initially. One, I was good at it. But two, I was a little bit reluctant to try to follow in my dad's footsteps because no matter what, I was not going to measure up to 7 habits of highly effective people. I mean, that's hard to replicate. And I thought, that's a little bit daunting. But suddenly what was interesting, Deepak, is once I found my message that trust is the most significant thing, it's the one thing that changes everything, and it's learnable, I suddenly lost the fear of trying to be a thought leader myself and following in my dad's footsteps as a thought leader, as an author, as a speaker. And I went down that path and I wrote The Speed of Trust, followed by Smart Trust, followed by Trust and Inspire, which we're going to talk about today. And,
fascinating.
But when I found my message, I found my voice and I lost the fear. And that's kind of the second act of my career. So first act, business person helping to build a business, scalable, reach people worldwide. Second act, now I also have something to say. And that's that trust is the most significant currency of our time. That's the idea. That's my 2-act career.
Lovely, lovely. I'm sure many more to come. I love the way you frame it. You sort of let the voice emerge over time rather than try to sort of force your way into it rather. Right.
Yes, I didn't know it until I had something to say. I was held back by fear, and it had not emerged. So this emerged from my experience, and I earned the insights.
I remember speaking to the country head of a private equity firm who said that second-generation entrepreneurs often have what he calls the Sachin Tendulkar problem. Sachin started playing at Shivaji Park, and over time, he grew in stature, skills, and confidence, and played at places like Markade, Melbourne, Lords, and so on. But when his son Arjun Tendulkar is playing, very often he does not have the opportunity to play street cricket and rise through the ranks. Unfortunately, he has to start at a stadium, and that can be hard for the second generation. And sometimes there's no shortcut to expertise, whether it's playing cricket or becoming a thought leader. I like how Stephen M.R. Covey cuts his teeth on the business side of things and lets his confidence and conviction emerge over time, rather than just trying to pick the baton and run with it. Some of the identities have to emerge over time and cannot be transitioned from one generation to another. Just being aware of it possibly is half the battle won.